Okay, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here with Karen Capice from Organised with KLC, and we're talking about all things decluttering. Karen, I'll let you introduce yourself and say a bit more if you like.
Certainly. Yes, I'm Karen from Organised with KLC. I'm professional organizer and certified KonMari consultant, and also a mother of three wonderful young boys. And we're a very neurodiverse family as well. So there's a lot of extra spicy stuff happening in our household.
Yeah, you've got so much going on. So thank you for joining us today, Karen. For those that don't know me, I'm Eve McIntyre and I'm the founder of Project Emerald. We've recently expanded into the Project Emerald Collective, which is all about living more intentionally and taking our power back as women and living more in alignment with who we are here to be in this world and being a lot more intentional in where we spend our time, energy, and money. Yeah, so today we're going to be chatting through overconsumption, dopamine shopping. So, Karen, can you chat to us about the psychology of dopamine shopping?
Yeah, certainly. So, not a psychologist, I'll just start with that. But yes, the basic idea around dopamine shopping is that little rush that we get when we go buy something new, that excitement around a new purchase. And, I think we've all felt it. We can often, if we've had a bad day and we go out and we buy something new, it gives us that little rush and we feel good. So it's almost like we're rewarding ourselves for, maybe we're having a bad day or we've got some other stuff happening in our lives, whatever it might be. And if it's just one or two little purchases, it's not such a bad thing. But when it becomes a bit of a habit and we're constantly purchasing to uplift ourselves, it gets to be a bit of a bad cycle. And instead of buying things intentionally that we're going to be actually using and really enjoying and things that support us in our lives, we just end up amassing stuff. And it becomes a really big, heavy turnover and a lot of clutter in our lives and a lot of money down the drain as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So why do we tend to buy more than we need?
Well, I think there's a couple of things in that. I think a lot of the time we as women don't necessarily know our own style or our own way, how we want to present ourselves to the world. So we're trying a bit of this and a bit of that, and we're just constantly trying to find our style. Then there's all of the new fashion trends and all this pressure on us to keep up with the Joneses and to look a certain way, and we end up just trying to constantly try that new latest thing, see if it's going to work for us. But then there's the other side of the fashion industry that's become terrible for the environment, honestly, in recent times. This fast fashion cycle where there's this massive overproduction of really cheap clothing. And so things are a lot cheaper, so we buy them and they don't last very long. So we've got to go out and buy more. And we get this massive build-up of things. We're constantly buying more and more and more. And nothing really sits and aligns with who we are. It's this horrible cycle that keeps coming.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible. And yeah, it would feel overwhelming. But part of I guess, the movement and this podcast is aimed at empowering women to take their agency back and, really connecting in before they act on autopilot so they can make those better choices. Because fast fashion's only such a big thing because we're letting it. Like, we are actually, we're part of the problem. So if you're more conscious in the decisions that you make around that as impulse buyers, we can actually stop it. We just need to not be sucked in by all the marketing and the cheapness of the products that you get, and you're always disappointed with them anyway after one or two wears.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. If we
yes.
stop buying, then there's no industry to
Mm,
fuel it. We are the fuel underneath the fire. The textile industry is a huge global problem. And this fast fashion cycle, it's not a loop. It's a one-ended thing. So
mm.
it's 2 trillion tons of water is produced each year to make these clothes, and between 70 and 100 million trees are chopped down just for the fabric. Then there's the design side of things, all these mimicking and following the higher fashion people that are, their intellectual property is being stolen and copied and ripped off to make all these fast fashion trends. then the actual production of the clothing, as well as the offshore side of things, and the exploitation of these workers and terrible working conditions, terrible pay. And then the transport of those things to come to our shores for us to buy, it's 2.1 million tons of CO2 is produced annually. That's a really, really huge figure. Then, of course, the items come into the shops. They're really, really low cost items, and that helps to fuel us purchasing more and more and more. So it's in Australia, it's 56 items per person each year, which is almost one item of clothing every week that we in Australia are buying per person. That's huge, isn't it? Absolutely
Yeah,
huge.
massive.
Yeah, and the average person only wears 40% of their clothing at the moment. So that's
Mm,
60% of their clothing that's getting wasted and chucked into landfill most of the time. And this poor quality of these fast fashion items have got such a short time span. It's just really fueling the problem. So that every year in Australia, 200,000 tons of clothing enters landfill, creating all these greenhouse gases and then microplastics that end up in our soil.
mm.
So it's this open loop that just keeps fueling. It's this big monster building and building and growing and growing. So if we can, stop buying all these cheap, nasty fashion trends and really look at what we as women want to be wearing and reusing and, yeah, close that loop up, create this more circular fashion model instead of this open-ended fast fashion, I think we will be happier and with ourselves, but also be better for the environment at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard some stats that New South Wales is actually going to run out of rubbish space by 2030. So
Wow.
it's a massive problem, and we can't just keep shipping it offshore, making it, pushing the problem further down the line. Like actually need to take responsibility and just stop doing the actions. Like stop it. You have control over what you do. Like you may be living on autopilot, but that's not the way that it has to be. So, yeah, I'd love to work with women that are ready to just find themselves again and take that pause and live more intentionally, because if we all did something, even if we were just 1% better every day, that would make a massive ripple effect in, the problems that we're seeing all over the world. What we do does matter. Like how we spend our time, energy, and money, it does matter, and we can make a difference.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So, how does overwhelm and identity confusion lead to impulse buying, do you think?
Yes, I think when we're overwhelmed by the choices and what's out there, and we're not really attuned to what we want in ourselves, we haven't sort of taken that time to stop and ask ourselves what actually really fits and suits us. There's a lot out there, and there's a lot coming at us, a lot of pressures as well to look a certain way and yeah, to keep up with that latest or to look like that person or to whatever it might be. So there's a lot coming at us all the time, a lot of overwhelm, and that does just fuel us trying to, get that thing and to try that thing and try.
Yeah, it's hard when it feels like everyone else is doing it, and it's, what difference am I going to make as well? Yeah, so it's coming back to that intentional, like being more intentional in how you spend your time on this earth.
Definitely.
Yeah. Why, like wardrobes, why do they become decluttered? Sorry. Why do wardrobes become cluttered even when we are trying our best?
Yes, well, if we are, maybe we've looked at cutting down on the amount of clothing that we're bringing in, and we're really trying to do our best and, enter into more of this circular fashion loop. There's still all these clothes sitting in our wardrobe. And first of all, there's often a lot there, and that's very overwhelming to think about how to go about decluttering this wardrobe and bringing it down to things that we actually do wear and love, enjoy. So that's one part of it. But also, there's all these ghosts in our closet of and guilt associated with these things. It's something that maybe we used to wear, maybe it used to fit, but it doesn't any longer. Maybe we've gained a couple of kilos, and so we've got that sitting in the closet as this horrible, guilty reminder of what we think that we should look like, the size that we should be, whatever it might be, and it's sitting there all the time. And we need to get rid of those ones for a start. But then there's the guilt also around the money that we've spent on these items. We're not wearing them, but we've paid money for them. So we don't like the idea of chucking them out. And if they're in the closet, then maybe we will wear them one day as well. It's definitely a big problem that a lot of women have got in their closets. A lot of guilt hanging there and all these ghosts hanging around us. So it's very difficult, but if we take things slow and just, start at one section of our closet at a time and really consider what we do actually wear, what we want to show up as in our lives, how we want to present ourselves, and let go of the others, we can recoup some of that cost. Things don't have to go into landfill. We can look at selling the items, even if it's just a couple of dollars, whatever it might be, pass it on to someone who's going to really enjoy it and not have these things hanging in our closet as this guilty reminder all the time. And then, there's a lot of charities out there that we can pass things on to. And if an item can't actually be recycled, then think about some fabric recycling. So H&M is one place that does do fashion recycling, and Up Apparel is another one here in Hobart. I know that you can go to Paddy Palin to, they've got a box that sends their things to Up Apparel so they can be recycled, so we can close that loop and, free our closets.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're just some, small things that we can do to start living more intentionally and less on autopilot. So the Project Emerald is a marketplace app for those that don't know, that where you can sell your secondhand fashion and accessories, and you can also purchase from there as well. So um, my intention is to inspire women to pause and think, if there's something that they need in their wardrobes, which we all do, especially when we have kids, just pause and be intentional with your money and your time and think, can I get this secondhand? So I think if we reframe the act of purchasing. So buying less and seeing that as an act of self-connection and care, as opposed to going without. It's actually the opposite, where you're empowering yourself to make changes and make, those small steps that lead to big results if we all were to do that. So,
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
So often when we buy something secondhand, we end up with a better item that fits better, lasts longer, looks better, and is cheaper or the same cost as these cheap, nasty, fast fashion things. So yeah, I think it's very worthwhile looking into the secondhand clothing market. There's some really great things out there.
Yeah, and it's more a expression of your individual style as opposed to what everyone else is wearing. So I see it as a creative opportunity to, let your authentic self shine as well.
Beautiful.
Is a small practical step that our listeners can take today to interrupt the cycle, Karen?
Yeah, well, I think if I may give two little steps, one for when you're shopping and one for when you're at home. So if you're at home and you're looking at maybe going through your closet, try starting just with your underwear drawer. It's a small space, it's not too overwhelming. You can just hopefully quickly get through it in 10 or 15 minutes and find those, items that, are going to support you throughout the day, literally support you throughout the day. So that would be a really good spot to start in your wardrobe. And then if you're out shopping and you're looking at these items, take a moment to ask yourself a couple of little questions. Firstly, do you really want to need this item, or do you think that you're purchasing it for the rush of the purchase or to make you feel good? If it is something that you think that you really need, think about, is it an item that you can get somewhere else? Maybe, on one of these secondhand clothing apps like Project Emerald. And then have a think about where it's going to go in your wardrobe. Do you have the space for it? And if you don't have the space, is there something that you might want to part with? If you're going to buy this new thing, is there something that's going to go? So one in, one out kind of a mindset. Yeah, so a couple little questions that might just help you to reframe your purchasing and take a pause and make sure that you've got the right intentions that's really going to serve you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we move on now to the topic of enoughness and self-connection and becoming. So becoming the woman that we are here to be in this world and looking at the mindset shifts that change everything. which I'm excited to dive into. So, can we chat about what's your personal definition of enough?
Enough. Yes. For me, enough is when I feel like everything around me is part of my life. It is supportive of my life. It is intentional. I don't feel overwhelmed by all the different things around me, but also I've got enough to support me. So I think everybody's got their own level of where they feel like they've got just the right amount of stuff in their lives. It's a very personal thing. But yeah, when I'm at a point where I can just go and grab what I want, what I need. I'm in and out the door, and I'm set. Yeah, and not overwhelmed by all the choices around me.
Yeah, that's definitely, you know, more empowering when you can just leave some of the clutter behind. Can you chat to us about, do you have any stories from your clients of that, will take us through emotional transformations?
Yes, certainly. So yeah, just thinking about one client in particular. She came to me in a really burnt out stage. She was actually taking time off from work because of this, and her home was really her physical home was a reflection of what was happening in her mental state as well. There was a lot of clutter and a lot of everything happening to her. She'd also been through a fairly nasty breakup as well. In the sort of the months leading up to this burnout. So we started with her wardrobe and her clothes moving through and looking at the items that she really loved and enjoyed, those items that really sparked a joy. You know, when she held these items telling me about them, you could just see the glow in her face and the spark of excitement and energy about her. So I went through choosing all those wonderful items that she really enjoyed wearing. And it's amazing the pattern that was coming out of it. She was choosing these beautiful feminine dresses and these colors that were sort of more your pinks and your greens because she was a very she loved plants, and she was a very, a girly girl, as we often say. And so she was choosing all these beautiful items that she really loved to wear, and then the darker colors, the blacks and maybe the deeper blues, those sorts of colors, she was letting go of, and so she was finding that she was almost reinventing her sense of self in this decluttering process and finding, that she wanted to live this more feminine lifestyle. She was choosing all these beautiful dresses and these colors, these pinks and these greens that really suited her and made her feel good about herself. And these other items that she thought she enjoyed wearing and that perhaps maybe they suited the relate where she was in that relationship at the time, but she transformed from this part of her life into where she was now, and her closet reflected that and was then able to support her. And it's a beautiful moment for her to find her true self and her sense of style by going through the process of decluttering.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love hearing stories like that. So, if we touch on connection and community, like how do you see, the work that you do transpiring into something larger?
I don't know. You haven't asked me that one before. Let me just take a moment to think about that one.
Or
Okay.
maybe are you right?
Yeah, I was just going to say about doing things like this and workshops and talking to the community and, talking to the wider community, not just, necessarily one individual person.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I think that's really powerful. So yeah, I'll just rephrase the question as to what are you seeing with your work today? Have you noticed changes over time? So Karen, chat to us about the work that you do. I know you work with individuals, but what are you seeing come through that's, lighting you up at the moment?
Yeah, certainly. At the moment, I'm starting to do, as well as working with my individual clients, as you said, a lot more community participation type things. So I'm doing some workshops and, of course, speaking to your lovely self and talking to the wider community. It can be, there is a cost involved in hiring someone like myself to work one on one with you. So I really enjoy getting out and doing these workshops with the community that are a lot lower or even free. So I get to spread the word and show people how to go through doing some decluttering, whether it be their wardrobe or the rest of their home. And yeah, I really enjoy getting out in the community and sharing my knowledge with them.
Yeah, awesome. So, what's a mindset shift that you want women out there listening to carry forward?
I would love everybody to take a moment to think about how they want to live their lives and what they want to do in their lives. So it's the very first step in the KonMari method is this ideal life and this goal setting. And we might maybe say that we want to declutter our home because it's overwhelming, it's too much stuff, whatever it might be. But we need to keep asking ourselves why. Why do you want to declutter? Because I want things to be able to find stuff. Why do you want to be able to find stuff? Because I want to be able to get ready quicker in the day. Why is that the case? Maybe because we want to be able to spend more time with our family in the morning and not be running around like a headless chook and trying to find things. So if we just keep asking ourselves why, we can really get to the bottom of what we want in our lives. And so often it is more time with our family and friends, more time to do our hobbies, things we really enjoy. And so, yeah, just taking a couple of moments to think about what we want in our lives. And then all the other noise around us, all this clutter, all these things in our lives, we need those to support us to live that life. So, yeah, if we can shift our mindset around stuff around us being stuff to show, our power or our what we think that we should be in the lives and actually have our stuff around us being things that support us in our lives, then I think we'll all be a lot happier.
Yeah, absolutely. Is decluttering, in your experience, is decluttering really about becoming?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Through decluttering, we're able to really hone in on what we want to keep in our lives and support us to live our best lives. And so we can, move from whatever state we're currently in that might be holding us back into becoming the person that we really want to be.
Yeah. And is it all like when we say it's creating space for the next chapter, is that part of the KonMari method as well?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of the KonMari method is around shaping this ideal lifestyle and the things that you want to take with you. And so there's a lot of, we go through a lot of transitions in our lifetimes. We're toddlers and then we're young children going off to school. And then, we're getting our first job. We're becoming part of a couple, getting married, buying a first home, where, parents, then we're empty nesters. There's all these different stages of our life. And there's the next stage coming up, and there's always a next stage coming up. And so all of our things need to support us and be part of the life we're living now and the one we're looking at becoming in the future. Not all these ghosts and things holding us back from the past, all these memories of things that maybe aren't the best. Certainly hold on to those precious moments, those really sentimental things that uplift us. But yeah, let go of the guilt and all the extra stuff that we really don't need in our lives.
Yeah, that's a really good way to reframe, at the stages that we go through as women. And, I always have believed that getting older is a privilege. So it's about, I guess, knowing that, there's life ahead of us and we don't need to hold on to the past. We can actually release it and it can be empowering to think of it that way.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, great. All right. Thank you so much, Karen.
You're welcome. Lovely to be here.